Okay, so in Khan Academy, most of your assignments this week are dealing with the remainder theorem. You do have some assignments that are just a review of the long division so that you don't forget, but they're not just review. They do go over what happens if you are missing a term. So you need to make sure you look at those videos as well. All right, so the remainder theorem says the remainder of a polynomial, and that can be any polynomial. This is an example of what a polynomial is. So any polynomial where they give you a factor and they're going to say x minus a is going to be a number. So in this example, they said x minus 4. 4 would be my a because he's written after the subtraction sign. Is P of A. So what that means is all I have to do to find the remainder, instead of going through that whole long division, is take whatever my A is and plug it into my function for every single variable. And then we'll use our calculator, and whatever number you get, that's the remainder. Okay? So this is a shortcut instead of doing long division. Now, if you'd rather do long division, that's fine. You can go through that process. This is a shortcut. We'll get the same answer. All right? So I wrote out some steps. Step number 1, you're going to tell me what your A is. The number that you write for your A, which is this number here, is always the opposite of what you see in the parentheses. So in this example, notice that A was negative because he has a minus sign. But when I wrote him here, I wrote him as a positive. So if there's a plus sign in your parenthesis, when you write your answer for this line, you're going to write a negative sign. If he was positive here, he'll be negative here. If he's negative here, he'll be positive. Just change the sign. All right, so whatever number you get here, you're going to plug it into your polynomial. So all the x's are going to come out, and you're going to put that number in. For each one of your x's, you'll use your calculator. Just make sure that you use parentheses every time you plug it in, every single time. Because if your number is negative, you will get the wrong answer for your remainder if you don't use parentheses. All right, so I'll show you a live example of what all of this means. Step number 1 said, write the opposite of the number that's in your parentheses. So in this case, we are going to find the remainder for P of X, which is this very long quartic polynomial. But we're not going to do the long division. We're going to use the shortcut. So my A is this number. Now, this 4 is negative because it has a minus sign in front of him. So when I write my 4, I'm going to write a positive. You write the opposite sign that you see in the parentheses. And we're only concerned with the number. So if they give you one where you don't have a number, that means your number is 0. And 0 doesn't have a sign. So you won't have to worry about changing it. All right, now we're going to plug in this number, which is 4, into our equation every time we see an x. So that means instead of writing x here, I'm going to write the number 4, and he is to the 4th power. Plus, then I see a number 4, so I write that first. And then there's another x, so instead of writing x, I put in the number 4. And that x has a 3 exponent on him, so I will keep this as a 3. Then I see a minus sign. And there's another x, so in parentheses, 4. And that x has a square on him, so I'll put a square on this. Notice the exponents are on the outside of the parentheses. Then I see minus. There's a number 16, so I keep that number. And then there's an x. X's turn into 4s in parentheses every time. And then minus, and then 12. So I forgot to put this one in parentheses, so I'm just fixing it. So notice every time I saw an x, it became a 4. X, 4. This 4 is from the 4 that was already there. There's an x. I have a 4 with the same exponent. 16 stayed the same. There's an X. There's my 4. So all I have to do is type this in the calculator now, and whatever I get, that's the remainder. That's how easy this is. All right. I know sometimes he tends to explain things in a more complicated way. Sometimes he gets right to the point. I think he went around the world on this one. So parentheses 4, and then to the 4th power, I press over to make sure I'm out of my exponent, plus 4, and then 4, up, and number 3. Press over to get out of the exponent, minus, make sure that's minus and not a negative. I'm using the gray buttons over here. 4 in parentheses. And then I put the exponent of 2 on the outside. Minus 16. I'm plugging in another 4. And then minus and 12. And remember, I know that you don't have these calculators at home, but you can download, if you have an Android, the Wabbit app, and then you will have the same calculator, so you'll be able to press the same buttons. And if you have an iPhone, it's called it's called Calculator 84, and it's a pink and white icon. All right, so I press enter, and I get 420. So that means the remainder is 420. And that's it.